Hi guys. So in this video we're going to go through how to distribute a binomial times a binomial. What you want to make sure is that right now you have your whiteboard, your eraser, and your marker on your desk. Everything else can go away except for your Chromebook so that you have enough room to work at your desk. Okay, so in class together we just went through a couple options, or you guys came up with a couple options for how to multiply these two things together. So we know when we've got something in parentheses times something else. So for example, if I had this, the operation in between these two numbers is multiplication. So therefore, the operation in between these two things is also multiplication. And we've got to make sure that we distribute each term to each term in parentheses. So in order to do that, similarly to when we were just distributing one term to the next, we're going to draw some arrows to show what we're multiplying together. So I'm going to take my first x and distribute it to a term inside of my next set of parentheses. So it's going to go all the way over here to my second x. So down below I'm going to multiply x times x. Then I'm going to put my plus sign. I'm going to take my x and I'm going to distribute it to the next term that I have in my parentheses. So I'm going to multiply x times 3. Okay, so right now, so far I've multiplied my x with everything that's in my next set of parentheses. I'm not going to multiply it with the 2 because there's a plus sign in between. But now I've got to make sure that this 2 is also multiplied with what's in my next set of parentheses. So I'm going to multiply 2 times the x. So I'm going to put a plus. 2 times x. And then lastly, I've got to distribute my 2 to the very last term inside of my parentheses. I'm going to add a plus. 2 times 3. So I've got a lot of things going on right now down below my parentheses. I'm going to multiply through. An x times an x gives me what? That's right, x squared. Plus x times 3, that's just going to be 3x. Plus 2 times x, that will just be 2x. Plus 2 times 3, well, that will give me 6. What could I do next? Okay, so hopefully you said that I can combine like terms. I've got a 3x and a 2x. Because those both have just one x, I can add the two of them together. So I'm going to add these two, 3x plus 2x. That's going to leave me with plus a 5x. And I'm going to bring down everything else that didn't change. So I've got an x squared plus a 5x plus 6. And that will be my final answer. I cannot combine anything else. Okay, go ahead and erase your boards. We're going to do another example. Okay, so get this problem written down. I'm going to be distributing what's in this set of parentheses to my second set of parentheses. So think about if I'm distributing this x, what's the first thing that I'm going to multiply my x by? Ah, you're correct. I'm going to multiply it by this other x. So off to the side I'm going to write, or right down below, x times x plus. What's the next thing I'm going to distribute my x to? Wonderful, this 1. Then I'm going to write x times 1. Now what do I need to distribute? Okay, so I've distributed this x in my first set of parentheses. I now need to distribute this 4. So where does the 4 go to? Perfect. 4 times x plus 4 times x. And then lastly, what's the last number my 4 needs to go to? Wonderful. I'm going to take plus 4 times 1. Have I distributed everything out? Great. Go ahead. I want you to simplify this expression. When you multiply everything through, choose the option that fits the best. Okay, so you should end up with x to the power of 2 plus 1x plus 4x plus 4. What can I do now? Great, I can combine my like terms. So I'm left with x to the power of 2 plus 1x plus 4x is going to give me 5x plus 4. You're going to solve these 3 problems. When you're done, you're going to select the correct answer on the right. Show all of your work on your whiteboard. Go through it slowly, step by step. Go ahead and solve. Just to go over this first one, make sure that we're on the same page. If I take x times x, I'm going to get an x times x down here. Then I'm going to multiply my x with 5, plus x times 5. Now I've distributed my x to everything on this side, so now I'm going to distribute my 3. So my 3 goes to my x, I'll have plus 3 times x. And then my 3 has to go to this 5, so I'll have plus 3 times 5. Now I'm going to multiply through. X times x gives me x to the power of 2 plus 5x plus 3x plus 3 times 5 will give me 15. Lastly, I can combine my like terms. 5x plus 3x will give me an 8x. And then I can bring down everything else. So my x squared just gets brought down. My plus 15 gets brought down. And that'll be my last step. Okay, we're going to go over this problem next. Go ahead and erase your whiteboard and copy it down. Similarly to when we were distributing, when there was a negative or minus sign inside, you're going to change your subtraction to addition and change your sign so that now you've got a negative 3. But otherwise, the rest of the problem stays exactly the same. So I'm going to distribute my x first. So x times x, I'm going to write that down, x times x. There's always going to be a plus sign in between. Next, I'm distributing my x to the 2. So I'm going to write x times 2 plus. Now I've got to distribute my negative 3. Where is it going to go to? Great. It's going to go to my x. So I'm going to write plus negative 3 times x. Then lastly, where does my negative 3 go to? Fantastic, my 2. Plus negative 3 times 2. Now what can I do? Wonderful, I can multiply my terms. X times x is going to give me an x squared. Plus 2 times x, which is 2x. Plus negative 3 times x just gives me a negative 3x. Plus negative 3 times 2 gives me a negative 6. Lastly, I'm going to combine my like terms. So I don't have anything I can combine with my x squared. It's going to stay an x squared. 2x minus 3x off to the side. 2x plus a negative 3x. I've got 2 positives here, 3 negatives here. When I cross out, I'm going to be left with 1 negative x. I can put a 1 out in front if I want to. And then I'll have plus a negative 6. I can write that as plus negative 6, or I can just write minus 6. Both are correct. Let's go ahead and do one more. Go ahead and erase your board. So if I have x plus 1 times x minus 5, what am I going to do first before I distribute? Fantastic. Change my negative to a plus sign and change my sign to a negative. What am I distributing first? Great, the x and the x plus 1. So this x is going where? To the other x. So I'll write x times x plus. Now where does my x go to? Wonderful, the negative 5. X times negative 5 plus. Now what do I distribute? Wonderful, my 1 in my first set of parentheses. So this 1 is going to go to my x plus 1 times x. And lastly, where does my 1 go to? The negative 5 plus 1 times negative 5. Now I'm going to multiply through. X times x gives me what? X squared. X times negative 5 plus a negative 5x. 1 times x plus 1x. 1 times negative 5 plus a negative 5. Do I have any like terms? Yeah. I can combine my negative 5x plus 1x. If I do my pluses and minuses, I'm going to have negative 5 negatives and 1 positive. So one of these is going to cancel out. I'll be left with a negative 4x. So my x squared didn't change. It's just brought down. Minus 4x. And then this plus a negative 5 can be brought down. When I've got plus a negative, it can change to minus 5. And that'll be my final answer. Go ahead and solve these 3 problems. You're going to check your work off to the right-hand side with the multiple choice questions.